All right, good morning, class. Today we're going to take a look at a given track or a given GarageBand project. So let's give this a listen. Okay, so hopefully you're all noticing that we have some work to do as editors here. So what we have is 3 drum tracks and a bass. And they're kind of out of sync with the timeline in GarageBand and with each other. So what we need to do is go ahead and align each one of these tracks to the timeline in GarageBand. So let's pull each one up individually and take a look at what we have here. Okay, so just by looking, you can see it's not terrible. This is certainly usable, but we have a lot of different where a lot of little places where our performance was a little bit off. All right, so the most precise way you can do is go through and actually click and drag. But if you know a little bit about music theory, some of the work can GarageBand can do some of the work for you. Another thing I'm just going to go ahead and fix right now is if you listen to so this is the bass drum and this is the snare drum sound. So and you can see that the bass drum is going on every beat here. So we have 4 beats in the measure. So the one here, this stands for measure 1, and then we're measure 2, and so forth. And the dot is telling you dot 3 would be beat 3. So you can see here in the timeline, in the editor window, that there's these slightly larger lines that represent beats. Here's beat 1, this would be beat 2, this is beat 3, and beat 4, and then we had the beat divided up into 4 different parts. Alright, so you can see that this bass drum part is happening on beats 1, 2, 3, and 4. Pretty typical of the bass drum part. So, but here we're missing it on beat 1. So I'm going to go ahead and draw one in. What probably happened is that when the performer was entering this part, they were slightly ahead of the click. So they came in right before actually the GarageBand started recording. So they had the 4 beats count them off, and then they were a little bit early, and that's why I missed it. So now, all right, so now we have that fixed. All right, so we have 2 different rhythms going on here. But if we look at each rhythm, we can see that both this the snare and the bass, really what we wanted for both of these parts is to be aligned to beat 4. And you can see in the description here, when you click and hold on a note, that oh, I'm sorry, I was looking at the length, not the position. So the position, this is on measure 1, beat 2. And it's telling you right there that's where we want it. And so even though it looks like we have 2 different rhythms here, I think we might be able to go ahead and just quantize to the quarter note, which is represented in GarageBand as 1/4. All right, so let's go in there, select everything, and then quantize to the quarter note, 1/4, and right there you saw everything move very quickly. So if we give this a listen now, you can hear everything's dead on, right with the metronome. And if we click to the score view, you can see everything here looks like quarter notes look. So quarter notes have a filled in circle and also a stem. Stem direction doesn't matter. Sometimes they'll be up, sometimes they'll be down. Depends on where they fall in the staff. Alright, so that looks like we got a pretty good drum, bass and snare. Alright, so if we unsolo that, we can still hear some of these other parts are a little bit funny. Okay, so I'm going to mute these 2 here and just focus on this next part here. So let's give this a listen and see what we have. Okay, looks like here we have tambourine part. And again, this, I'm not sure. All right, that is being played, but it looks like it's a little bit. And this is happening on beat 1. So there's one. Here, it looks like they were going for this one right here. So that's and this one I think is supposed to be on right on beat 2. Okay, so let's put that there. This looks like it's supposed to be on right in between beat 2 and beat 3. Alright, so now we have Right, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Now we have everything. If we take a look at our score, oh, it looks like, all right. So if we count these, well, let's see how many bars, how many beats we have, or how many notes we have in this measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so I'm going to say that let's try quantizing to the 8th note. And let's see, did that do it? Nope, didn't do it. There we go. All right, so we don't have to worry about these lengths. You can see sometimes like this one's a little bit longer than this one. That's fine. But now we have everything in time. Sounds good. All right. Let's go to our next track here and listen to this. All right, so what do we have going on here? It looks like we have some sort of hi-hat pattern, and it's very busy. Let's see. So let's count up how many we have in each bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Huh. All right. So this might have been a mistake, because if you go over to the quantize feature, you can, let's see how 16th note's going to work here. Oh, that's not what I wanted. All right, and that moved everything to the closest 16th note in the grid. And now we have something that makes a lot more sense. And I'm going to go ahead and fix this too by just, and I just use the split command there. And, you know, I'll leave this up to you if you want to draw in. Looks like, all right, there we go. All right, so that's good to go. All right, great. So now let's take a look at our bass part. And you can see, so this was a little bit early, saying here that a lot of little things here. A little early here. All right, so let's see if we can figure out what's the smallest rhythmic division that we could use here. Because if we were to go ahead and quantize to something like, say, 8th note, you might end up doing something that just that actually sounds okay, but if we listen to the original, let's see what it sounds like if we quantize to the 16th note. All right, so that sounds a little closer to what the performer probably intended. I think the 8th note quantization might be painting with too broad of a brush, so to speak. So as I was doing this, I was noticing some of the problems I was having is when I was doing the quantization from the notes menu rather than the region. So for all of these, you can go ahead and use the region menu, which should apply it to everything. So this is a pretty powerful thing to do. If you have things, if you have a MIDI track with multiple different parts going in one track, you might want to just do the notes part of it. That way, the quantization wouldn't apply to everything in the region, but only the notes that were selected. All right, so once you have everything, you should sound. It should sound like this. And again, the importance of aligning to the timeline is very, 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 very important. That way, if you decide, hey, I want to do this at a much quicker tempo, you can change the BPM, and since everything's there, you're good to go. This also means you can use some of these Apple loops if you wanted to add some different things like Alright, so that's probably not the best loop. Let's see if we get something else. Yeah, a little bit more going on. And now it works. And as you look at this, you can see that this audio is aligned to the timeline as well. And again, that's why everything works. So very important to align all your stuff to the timeline in GarageBand. And that's it. Once you're finished, share to a compressed audio format and upload to Classroom.